So today we're going to dive into the life of a woman who was a princess by birth, but a complete rebel by conviction. She was a poet whose words are still sung all across India, and a saint who loved a god so fiercely that she just shattered every single rule society tried to build around her. We're talking, of course, about Mirabai, a 16th century mystic whose entire life was one radical act of devotion. Oh, friends, I am mad with love, and no one sees. Wow. That one line, it just perfectly captures who Mirabai was, right? It speaks to this all-consuming, divine passion that the world around her just couldn't get its head around, let alone control. It's a love that would define her, endanger her, and, in the end, make her immortal. All right, so here's how we're going to break down her incredible story. First, we'll look at a princess's divine love. Then, devotion in a royal cage. After that, the intense part, surviving the palace's poison. Then we'll see the saint's path to freedom. And we'll wrap it all up by looking at the rebel poet's legacy. So, let's start at the very beginning. Our story doesn't begin with a powerful queen, but with a little princess whose heart was completely captured by a vow that would shape her entire extraordinary life. Okay, let's get the basics down. Mirabai was born around 1498 into the Rathore clan, a really powerful royal family in Rajasthan. But here's the thing. From the get-go, her identity wasn't about being a princess. Nope. It was all about this one single unshakable belief that the god Krishna was her true husband. So where did this incredible devotion come from? Well, legend points to a couple of key moments. First, when she was just a toddler, a holy man gave her a small idol of Krishna, and she basically never let it go. Then, a little later, she sees a big wedding parade and asks her mom, "Hey, who's my husband?" And her mother, maybe just kidding around, points to that little Krishna idol and says, "He is. Lord Krishna is your husband." And for little Mira, that wasn't a joke. That was it. That was the absolute truth, and she held on to it for the rest of her life. And, this pattern of defying convention, it started super early. Many people say her spiritual teacher, her guru, was Sant Ravidas. Now, Ravidas was a deeply respected mystic, but he was from what was considered a lower caste in the rigid social structure of the time. You have to understand, for a high-caste Rajput princess to accept him as her teacher, that was a huge deal. It was a massive statement, and it showed she was part of the Bhakti movement, this amazing spiritual wave that said what mattered was your personal love for God, not your caste or your gender. Okay, on to our next chapter. This is where her private faith smashes right into her public duty. This is where the princess finds herself trapped in a beautiful but suffocating royal cage. So, in 1516, like so many royal women of the time, her marriage was a political move. She was married off to Bhoj, the crown prince of Mewar, one of the most powerful and respected kingdoms in the region. Suddenly, she wasn't just a princess, she was the future queen of this massive dynasty. And that came with a very, very strict rulebook. And this is where you can really see the two worlds she was living in, a total clash. On one hand, you have the Rajput queen rulebook. She was supposed to live in Purda, basically hidden away from public view. Her job was to worship her husband's family goddess and be a quiet symbol of his honor. But Mirabai's path? It was the complete opposite. She was out in public temples, singing and dancing with everybody. She worshipped only Krishna. And worst of all, she openly said a god, not her actual husband, was her one true love. This wasn't just unconventional. It was a direct assault on the entire social and patriarchal structure. Naturally, things came to a head. Her in-laws insisted she worshipped their family goddess. Her answer? It was polite, but it was absolute. "I have already given up my life to my beloved Lord Krishna." She couldn't, and she wouldn't, bow to anyone else. For her new family, this wasn't piety. This was rebellion. And that rebellion, well, it put her in incredible danger. As her convictions got stronger, her family's patience completely ran out, and their disapproval quickly turned into active, life-threatening persecution. Her earthly husband, Bhoj, died in 1521. While he was alive, it seems like she had maybe not support, but at least some protection. But with him gone, that shield was gone. His brother, Vikram Singh, took the throne, and he saw Mirabai as this public embarrassment, a stain on the family's pristine reputation. He decided she had to go. And this is where her story takes a turn into the truly miraculous. The legends about her are filled with these incredible tales of survival. The new king supposedly sent her a cup of poison. She offered it to Krishna first and then drank it, and it turned into sweet nectar. He sent a deadly snake hidden in a flower basket, but when she opened it, she found a little idol of Krishna. They even prepared a bed of sharp nails for her, and the moment she lay on it, it turned into a bed of soft roses. Can you imagine how isolated she must have felt? She was completely tormented, so she reached out for guidance. She wrote a letter to another great saint of the time, Tulsidas, and laid it all out. His reply was just crystal clear. He told her to abandon anyone, even her closest family, if they stood between her and God. It was basically the spiritual green light she needed to take her final, most radical step. And that final step? Total renunciation, total freedom. After surviving the palace's poison, Mirabai decided to just leave its suffocating walls behind forever and walk her own path. So she did it. She literally walked away from it all. The palace, the wealth, the royalty, everything. She became a wanderer, a pilgrim, walking barefoot with nothing but her faith. Her journey took her to the places that were most sacred to Krishna, Vrindavan and Dwarka. She traded a life of royal luxury for one of complete, unburdened devotion. And even on the road, she's still challenging the status quo. In Vrindavan, a famous male priest named Jiva Gosai refused to see her because she was a woman. Her response? Absolutely legendary. She sent a message back saying, "I thought there was only one true male, one Purusha, in Vrindavan, and that's Lord Krishna himself. I'm surprised to hear there's another." Can you imagine? The priest was so humbled and ashamed, he came running out to meet her. Her journey, her incredible life, ends in the city of Dwarka. And the ending is just as miraculous as the rest of her story. The legend says that in 1547, while she was singing in the main temple, she just walked towards the idol of Krishna and merged right into it, disappearing completely. It's this beautiful, poetic end. Her physical body just vanishes, finally one with the divine she loves so much. But of course, her story doesn't really end there, does it? Now we have to look at her legacy. And that means doing the tricky part, trying to separate the historical woman from the beloved saint of legend. So that's the big question, isn't it? Her story is so powerful, but what parts can we actually prove happened? We have almost no sources from her actual lifetime, so we're relying on texts written much, much later. Okay, so when historians get out their magnifying glasses, things get a little complicated. The miracles, well, those are seen as hagiography, inspirational stories meant to show God's protection, not as literal historical accounts. There's another popular story about her meeting Emperor Upgar, but most scholars doubt it. The timelines just don't match up. And even her poetry is tricky. We have thousands of songs with her name on them, but experts think only a couple hundred are likely the real deal. And the first written copies we have are from 150 years after she died. But here's what is absolutely, undeniably real: the power of her poetry. The songs that are truly hers are masterpieces. She wrote in the common languages of the people, not stuffy, academic Sanskrit, so everyone could feel her words. Her special style is called Madhurya Bhava. It's this idea of loving God as your most intimate, divine beloved. Her poems are just full of passion, longing, pain, and pure joy. So, when you put it all together, who was Mirabai? What's her ultimate legacy? Well, first, she's a symbol of fearless devotion. She put her spiritual truth above everything. Second, she was a total challenger of patriarchy, refusing to accept the limits placed on women. Third, a social rebel who ignored caste lines like they didn't exist. Fourth, an immortal poet whose songs are still sung 5 centuries later. And finally, she is this timeless, enduring voice of divine love, the symbol of the soul's passionate, unbreakable bond with God. You know, whether you believe every legend is fact or you see her as a historical rebel, her story leaves us all with a powerful, really personal question. She danced away the chains of royalty, patriarchy, and caste, all for her convictions. It really makes you think, doesn't it? What social chains, big or small, would you be willing to break for the things you believe in most?